Ever feel like, people just don't get how smart you really are?
Like they've already decided what you're capable of.
Exactly. And that's Elizabeth Zott's life in a nutshell. She's this brilliant chemist in the 1960s, but nobody seems to take her seriously.
Well, until she finds a very unconventional way to share her love of chemistry, that is.
This is one of the things I loved about Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus. It's funny, but it also makes you think.
It's not just a book review, though, is it? It's more like a deep dive into how one woman challenges expectations, and not just back then, even today.
Absolutely. So we meet Elizabeth, and she is not your average chemist. I mean, she's fighting sexism in the lab, but she's also got this incredible wit and this rebellious streak.
And she's falling in love, which complicates things, too.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Her relationship with Calvin, this fellow scientist, is a whole other layer to the story. He's one of the few who really sees her, recognizes her brilliance.
And that's important because Elizabeth's not just fighting societal expectations, she's dealing with very real prejudice in her field.
Right. And she refuses to be put in a box. She's got this daughter, Madeline, who's also incredibly bright, and their dog, 630.
Who she also thinks is brilliant, by the way.
Yes. And that unconventional family dynamic says a lot about Elizabeth. She's not afraid to be different. But back to what you were saying about her work, like she ends up becoming this unlikely TV cooking show star of all things.
Which, when you think about it, is kind of genius. She's taking something that's seen as, a woman's domain and turning it on its head.
I know. It's like, oh, you expect me to just be in the kitchen? Fine, but we're going to talk about atomic weights while we bake this cake.
That's what makes it so subversive and so funny. She's not letting anyone tell her what she can or can't do. And in the process, she's making science accessible to everyone.
Especially the housewives watching at home who are probably starving for some intellectual stimulation. It's like she's saying, hey, you're smarter than you think you are.
Exactly. Garmus does a great job of highlighting those societal norms that Elizabeth challenges. Like, women should be seen and not heard, especially when it comes to intellectual pursuits.
And she really goes against the grain, even with her personal life, like we were saying.
It's not all serious, though. The book is incredibly entertaining. It's got humor, romance, and even a bit of mystery.
It's one of those books that you can't put down, but it also stays with you long after you finish it.
It's interesting how much this book resonates with people today, even though it's set in the 1960s. I think it's because the themes are so timeless. Like proving yourself in a male-dominated field, staying true to yourself.
And the power of education. Elizabeth really believes in that. It's not just about knowing facts. It's about using your brain, asking questions.
And she really embodies that. That's what makes her such an unconventional heroine. She doesn't apologize for her intelligence.
You know what else I found interesting? The book was recently adapted into a TV show. Have you seen it?
I have. I think it's really interesting how they brought the story to life visually. And, of course, seeing a strong, intelligent woman like Elizabeth on screen is always inspiring, especially in today's world.
Definitely. It just goes to show you that this story, Elizabeth's message, it's still so relevant. It makes you wonder, though, if you were in Elizabeth's shoes, if you had all that intelligence but were stuck in a time when people underestimated you, what would you do?
Would you take the traditional path, try to fit in?
Or would you forge your own way, even if it meant going against the grain, even if it meant challenging everything people thought they knew about you?
It's something to think about, that's for sure. Lessons in Chemistry is more than just a story. It's a reminder that we all have the potential to be unconventional, to challenge the status quo, and to make a difference.
And who knows, maybe even change the world while we're at it, just like Elizabeth Zott.